We're here at the Dungeon Gym, man. It's the old school gym. Alright. So we got a lot of jacked up Filipinos here. He's being, look at that. My goodness. Gracious. That's real muscle. See? Amateur Filipino bodybuilder right there. Good stuff. Alright. I gotta go train. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Captain Trucker. It's me. Welcome back to the channel. Please subscribe if this is your first time. So, you know, I was in Sapali for quite a while and so forth, so going back to the gym, trying to get our pump back on, you know what I mean? I'm gonna build these things back up. But anyway, I want to talk in this video about some of my plans for the future. So I'm building a house right now for my son, and then in March I think I'm going to take the semi truck back over the road, try to work for about 3 or 4 months, pulling some more liquid cash flow and try to take a little bit more risk on some investments because, well, what can I say? I'm not retired. I've made 14 trips to the Philippines in 6 years, ladies and gentlemen. I've been doing this for a while now, and you know, it's my pleasure to do it, but it's, you know, it's tough sometimes, man. It's like, it's a lot of work, a lot of travel, but I like it. But I got to be realistic too. I mean, I'm not going to retire at age 40, so I got to still work, you know? And I try to keep it straight for you all. My whole thing of like even being on YouTube is, I didn't want to do like a vacation vlogger. I didn't want to pander to any particular audience, and I certainly didn't want to depend on YouTube just for income, because once you start doing that, in my opinion, we can lose some messages, you know? Because if for anybody who's been following this channel, we talk about some fairly controversial things at times. And most people do go to YouTube for entertainment and like how-to and maybe some educational stuff, but it's mostly entertainment. And I want to be able to keep this channel pure for you all. And I want to be able to speak our minds about how we see these issues and, you know, stuff like that. So I just want to make sure I'm giving you all my best and not sort of trying to cater to or pander to any particular audience. Not just maybe tell people what they want to hear all the time, or just do things for the sake of popularity and getting clicks, so to speak. Because you'll hear people tell you they really do think people are only on YouTube to make money, and well, I mean, if I showed you my AdSense, you'd probably laugh. but the truth is like, I don't care. That's not the point. Because we want to like try to promote what's right and speak upon stuff that maybe we see as from a public relations point of view. You know what I mean? But I just want to make sure I'm giving you all my best, and I hope you join me on the trucking detour we're going to take in March. Should be fun. For those of you who just started following the channel, it's like we've been in the Philippines the past 4 or 5 months, but before that I was over the road as a driver, so try to go back to that a little bit and try to pull in some more cash. Anyway, how my biceps looking? Am I getting it? All right, and I wanted to show you all my new car. I just bought this, so as you know, I'm pretty frugal and everything, and I just bought this car, and I know it doesn't look like much, but believe me, it runs really well. I'm just joking, I didn't really buy that. Oh, by the way, you gotta be careful going for runs in these neighborhoods, because I've noticed this, like in other countries like the Philippines or Mexico, if you run around neighborhoods, the dogs can chase you. So you gotta be very careful, okay? All right, here we go. Trying to burn some of this fat, Jason, right? Yeah, 'cause we don't want to be fat. We want to look more like Jason, because see, he ages well. If I don't diet properly, I get really fat, you know? So we're trying to get our cuts back. I know, well, I can't help it, you know? So I'm gonna do some powerlifting. I gotta flex while I point over there. And then we're gonna do some high repetitions, okay? All right, get those cuts back. Okay. The Philippines is an independent country. It's been independent from the United States for many years. But there's arguments to say that neocolonialism still exists in these countries. So neocolonialism is basically like unofficial colonialism. It's like an indirect influence and control, not control, but influence through economic, media, other interests, and so forth of these other countries. So that's why I'm always talking about public relations and the importance of media. Am I right, guys? Okay, thanks. No one's listening to me. All right, I'm done. What's up, guys? I had a chance to get back from the gym and kind of take some notes. I just wanted to sum this up for you in a more coherent way. So I want to make sure we're all on the same page. So, and I'm going to read this for you. Like, these are the concerns regarding specifically the influence of social media platforms like YouTube on neocolonialism in Southeast Asian countries, okay? It's multifaceted, it's complex, but here are some of the primary issues, okay? And I gotta say, like, I'm personally concerned for the future of these countries, not just Philippines, but Southeast Asian countries, other Asian countries, because of specifically the influence of some of these narratives on social media and YouTube, okay? I really am. I've said this before, that these countries have historically have had other issues with Western influences, right? But I am concerned about the future because of the mass consumption of social media. So anyway, here are some of the primary issues, and it's complex, but here's number one: cultural homogenization. Homogenization. That's like basically when you sort of lose the identity of a culture because you're influencing it so much that everything kind of becomes one. I don't know if you can call it globalization, but it's in my opinion, it's sort of like a loss of an identity. But here, so there's a concern that global social media platforms, largely dominated by Western companies and content creators, might lead to cultural homogenization. So this can overshadow local cultures and norms in Southeast Asia, leading to a kind of cultural imperialism where Western values and lifestyle are seen as superior or more desirable, right? And we've seen this, obviously, as far as Western values and lifestyle being more desirable. All right, number two, economic dependence. So the dominance of large, mostly Western-based social media corporations can create a form of economic dependence. These companies often control the digital advertising market, influence the flow of advertising revenue, and potentially disadvantage local businesses and media outlets. Okay. But again, we can only control the things we can control as foreigners, right? And this is the other point I'm making too, is like, to some of my critics, is like, oh, you can't change anything, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, that's BS. The only thing we can change is us, is me. You can change you. So even though these companies sort of have some control over like social media platforms, we as content creators ultimately have the responsibility. If somebody's watching a video with 10, 20, 100,000 views and it's a garbage message of garbage, or you get the point. All right, so number three, we got data colonialism. All right, so the concept of data colonialism comes into play where these platforms collect vast amounts of data from users, including those in Southeast Asia, often without adequate consent or compensation. So the data is then used to bolster companies' global dominance, raising issues about digital sovereignty and exploitation. Okay. Number four, influence and information control. So social media platforms have significant control over the flow of information. This can lead to concerns about foreign influence on domestic politics and social issues. So the spread of misinformation, the ability of external entities to potentially manipulate the public opinion of Southeast Asian countries is a significant worry, right? I'm not sure about domestic politics. I don't know about that. Anyway, number 5, impact on local media and content creation. So there's a risk that local content creators, again, content creators, and media outlets may struggle to compete with the global reach and resources of large social media platforms. So this could lead also into a decline of local media, affecting local journalism and cultural expression. So again, we got number 6, ethical and legal challenges. So issues such as enforcement of community standards, content moderation, compliance with local laws can be challenged. And so there's a concern that these global platforms may not adequately respect or understand local context. Okay. Digital divide and accessibility. So while social media platforms like YouTube have the potential to offer the global platform for expression, there remains a digital divide. So not all populations in Southeast Asia have equal access to these technologies, which can exacerbate existing inequalities. Okay. So number 8, we're going to wrap it up with youth culture and values. So the influence of social media on the youth in Southeast Asia is profound. These are the concerns about how this affects their values, aspirations, and perceptions of reality, potentially leading to a disconnect from their local cultures and communities. All right. So, listen, me as a content creator and you guys or whoever is content creators, we can't get into, we're not big companies, right? We're not into, American politics, whatever, foreign politics. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about individual content creators using their power to put out garbage, okay? Maybe not just garbage, but maybe just pandering to audiences for their ad revenue, their views, whatever, all right? And that's pretty sad. Okay, it really is. Some of these arguments too of like the critics and some people of like supporters of content creators putting garbage out into the world, as they say things like, oh, well, the Filipinos, they do it to themselves. What kind of bullshit argument is that? That's the point. Is like you're in a position of authority as a content creator, as a public influencer, so you're gonna just do something that's to your cheap advantage just to get some clicks? And you're really gonna sit here and tell people like, oh, they do it to themselves? Or they're the ones really doing it, so therefore it's okay if I do a version of my own, even though I know in my heart that it might not be the best thing? How sad is that? That's what I was saying, man, about some people being famous or some people being big influencers. Like, man, some people are cut out to be on YouTube, man. Ethically, they can't handle the fame, man. These views go to these guys' head, man. And that's the thing about, like back in the day, like being like a real artist or like a movie star or something like that, like it really did take a degree of talent. And to grow in the ladder of business, you usually had to have like a sense of ethics and responsibility, sort of, I think, to be like a respectable influencers of pop culture and movie stars and this sort of thing is like, that's my concern too, like personally, is on some of this YouTube stuff is like, man, I'm looking at some of these clown shows and I'm going, God, they're addicted to their views, guys. And I'm not naive, man. This isn't my first rodeo, okay? I'm not saying I was like a famous person or anything, but like, I can handle...
Are you done?
No, I'm not done. Give me a second, son. I can handle like the attention because I understand the context of it, all right? And like, we gotta get out of this mindset of content creators in general of just doing stuff for clicks and doing stuff for views. This is the danger of people also, in my opinion, like foreigners just dependent on their YouTube or whatever for all their income and whatnot, is like, you know, when you're at that point, you will do anything to make money, right? Because, I mean, it's your full-time job, I guess, right? So you gotta watch out for these guys. And not watch out for them, but I'm saying, like, I hope that, and don't get me wrong, like, there's a lot of really good YouTube channels and content creators. Not yet, son. That are responsible and considerate, and many of them are. Many of them are. I'm just speaking in general terms of, like, you know, the concern we have for the future, because I think people underestimate the influence and the power in this day and age of stuff like YouTube and social media, okay? So that's all I wanted to say. It's Captain Trucker. Love you guys. Please subscribe. Appreciate it. Look forward to your comments as always. Thank you so much. And I want to say another thing too. I delete any comments that have specific references to like other vloggers and stuff. So if you want to, please don't specifically talk about vloggers, okay? You can make general references and stuff like that, but don't. I'm also not okay with that. I don't like vloggers have enough trolls and dramas and stuff. They don't need. I'm not calling anybody out. That's none of my business. It's not my business to do that, right? The only thing we can be responsible for is ourselves. That's my whole point. It's like we can say like, oh, this is big tech and big media is taking over and all these influences. What can we do? It's like, well, what can we do as content creators is do the right thing. The technology's available. It's what we do with it, right? All right, it's Captain Trucker. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.